Your darkness is unrealized potential. Today on Earth 1111, I'm going to discuss your dark side, which is also called your shadow side. How do we even have a shadow side? And most importantly, how do we heal our shadow, our darkness, to get back all of these aspects of self, our talents, abilities, gifts that have been walled away and hidden from us our whole life, for many lifetimes. Today on Earth 1111. Hey everyone, it's Roxanne. This is Earth 1111. Please subscribe and hit the bell if you're interested in videos about spiritual awakening, ascension, 5D newer, and all the weird stuff in between. Now, your darkness, your shadow side, is all those parts of you that are separated from your consciousness stream. You're not a physical blob. You are a consciousness stream of light streaming down from God's source creator through infinite dimensions into physicality. Now, every single time that a part of you goes through a trauma, it could be from this life, from a past life, any time in the history of your soul, the blueprint of your soul, any time that you've been through something traumatic, shocking to the system, you know when you're going through life and something happens and your body seizes up, the second that your body seizes up, your fight or flight energies are activated. This now programs a blockage in your energy field. It separates a part of your soul aspects. So again, we are infinite soul aspects. We are not just one individual human walking around on the earth plane. You consist of infinite aspects of self. You can think of every single one of your atoms as being its own little soul aspect, its own consciousness. So every time that you have something happen, a part of you, especially the most inner vulnerable parts of self, those parts of yourself that you have earned, that your soul has attained through infinite lifetimes, the gifts, the abilities, the talents, those are typically the parts of yourself that are targeted by other people. People don't like when someone shines brighter than them. So typically, again, this can happen through three main ways that we have these walled off aspects that are wounds, that are wounded aspects of self. It typically happens through three different ways. It could happen from our childhood. We've all had, when we were kids, we weren't so worried about what other people think. So this is our inner child. Now what happens is, say you had a talent, say you had a gift. People don't like that. So say, for example, you were a good singer, and other people at your school or your siblings, your peers, other people didn't like that you had a gift or a talent. So typically you were targeted for that gift until eventually you just stopped singing at all. You were told to stop being so loud, shut up, you can't sing, all these different things that in the end created a blockage in yourself where you stopped singing, you stopped with your gift. Again, this can be any infinite thing that could happen. Again, it can happen through trauma, through accidents, people dying. So it happens through infinite ways that a trauma could be imprinted into your consciousness, to then later on, when we go through our ascension, which is happening right now, the entire world is ascending into multidimensionality. We are healing and bringing back all these aspects of self that have been hidden from us, walled off, lost through infinite lifetimes. So the second way that we have these parts of self walled off, separated, these wounds, could be through past lives. So again, if you're watching this video, you are an old soul with infinite gifts that your soul has attained. Now, every time that we reincarnated through past lives, especially, we can look at the history books and we can see all the different violent things that happened in society where people were targeted for their light, for their gifts. Maybe you had healing abilities. Maybe you were loving unconditionally. Well, the Catholic Church different groups, different systems, people in power didn't like that. So you may have gone through many different violent deaths or abuse because of your gifts. So we learn to hide our light. We learn to dim our light because it makes other people feel better. When you shine bright, when you are someone who's infinitely happy, other people don't like that. So we tend to, by habit, and through, like I said, many different times in our life and past lives, and essentially our soul life, where we've learned to turn down the volume on our greatness. Until eventually, after many repeated traumas, this part of yourself gets so walled off, so separated from your consciousness stream, which is you, that we have to go retrieve it. We have to go find it. So everything, before I get back to it, the third way that we can have these traumas and have these parts of self walled off is through our ancestry. So our DNA comes from our ancestors. So in our DNA, we have programming from, it could be from your great-great-great-great-grandma who lived hundreds and hundreds of years ago that went through a traumatic experience. That imprint is in your own DNA, in your own consciousness. So this is why, again, if you're watching this video, starseeds, light workers, healers, people that have lived infinite lives, that have gone through many, many different attunements with their soul, choose to reincarnate into family lineages that have a lot of past damage, past emotional issues, typically families that are a lot more masculinated, which is a lot more in the mind, not so much in the heart, so out of balance. And again, typically, the older the soul, the harder the family lineage that we get into. Families that have a lot of addictions, that ignore their issues, that just put it under the rug. So, and again, I have a video about that if you're interested. It's called Why Life Sucks for Spiritual People. So please watch that if you're interested in learning more about that. Okay, so what happens is every single time that we have one of these, it adds another layer of a separation, separating a part of yourself from your light, which is you. You're the soul streaming down from God Source Creator. Now what happens is when a part of you is separated, it now becomes its own little identity. We call this the ego. We can call this the wounded child, our wounded aspects. We can call this many different things. We can call this we can call this demons. We can call these our reptilians. All these different names for the same thing. Again, I'll be having a video coming up as well, so please subscribe and hit the bell. I'll be talking about psychic attack and things like that, of that nature, because there's a lot of misinformation about that, so I want to get into that later. So please subscribe if you're interested in that. Okay, so these parts of yourself that were your gifts, that were your talents and abilities, that you ignored, that you hated, that you hid for so many different years, lifetimes, they become their own little entity, because now they are separated from the light. They work against the whole. They end up becoming their own little identity. These parts of yourself will work against everything. So this is why we all have infinite aspects like this. So this isn't just one or two. Every single person has so many different things we need to heal. Every part of yourself that works against the whole, that may create things like addictions, maybe obsessions, compulsions. It may create just constant worrying, those thought loops that go on and on and on. It may also be creating self-sabotage, maybe anything. So there's a huge array of symptoms that come from all these aspects of self that are separated from the whole, that now there's an entire battle going on inside your system, in your body. This is where dis-ease is caused, illness, disease. This can be mental health issues, bipolar, schizophrenia, all these different labels that society likes to put on things to hand you some drugs and numb these parts of self when they're actually coming up to be seen, felt, heard, and loved. Every time you're triggered, so again, this is happening in the outside world right now. We can see this on a worldwide scale. As the light is coming in more and more and more, we are spinning faster. All these aspects of self that have been separated are coming up to be heard, coming up right in your face, right here, for you to look at, to heal, to love, to listen to. So again, we see this in the outside world. Everyone is being triggered by everything. And what happens, instead of going within and realizing, what is this in me that is reacting to something out here, to something that someone else said, to some outside event, instead of going within and doing the inner healing, because again, everything out there is just the mirror. It's the mirror for the energy you hold within. So what happens, and again, you can look around and see this everywhere. The person projects their anger, their worry, their fear onto others. It's now this person's fault. They pissed me off. This person, it's this dark agenda that's making me worried. No, it's something in you that is triggered by that exterior event or that exterior outside person. So remember this. This is already happening to every single person. We are in ascension timelines right now. And again, I'll be talking about the whole entire ascension process as well. And I mentioned this in quite a few videos, so please refer to my other videos if you're interested in learning more about this. The energies are coming up, which means the shadow, or which means the light is being shone right on the shadow, right on all these dark parts of self. So again, when something is triggered in you, look within. When you start spewing that anger onto someone, that's just keeping that loop going. You are just reinforcing that darkness of yourself, that shadow aspect. It's getting stronger. It's being more separated from you, the whole, the light. So what happens? These parts of self become even stronger, more angry, more ignored, because again, we don't want to look at these things. And with every single part of our self that's walled off, our shadow aspect holds an emotion. So when the trauma happened, this program, this emotion is locked into place in your brain and in your body. So when something's coming up, you'll feel an emotion. You want to allow that emotion to come out of you. But a lot of people block it. You run to the pill, you run to the alcohol. You blame everybody else. But it's actually coming up because it's time to heal it. Think of yourself, right? In the past, those times where, say you were a child and you were always ignored. You're always talking and your parents always had something better to do, right? This is a trauma. It doesn't have to be some huge event like going through a devastational abuse or going through entire war. It could just be something so small, like being made fun of one time at school. All it takes is that, because our most vulnerable parts of ourselves, our greatest gifts are the ones that are deep within our light, deep within our heart. These are the parts of self that are the most vulnerable, the most susceptible to attack. And remember, every time this happens, there's an emotion. So we don't want to look at that because we don't want to feel that emotion again. But this is your gift that's walled off. You have to feel the emotion come up and out of you in order to bring that part of yourself back to the whole. And now you have more wholeness. Now you're more your full self, your soul self. It's so key right now. Every single part of yourself that you're running from, that you're scared of, that you're embarrassed by, that you just want to forget about, those are the things we need to look at. And the more you ignore them, the stronger they get. The stronger the emotion is, the stronger the charge is, the harder it is to heal. We all have these parts of self that are like monsters, that are like our demon selves. This is parts of self you've ignored and ignored and ignored and pushed away so many times, they get stronger and stronger. When this part of yourself just wants to be loved, it's coming to be in your face to show you it's there. And this is why the outside world is needed, the mirror. Because we wouldn't even know that something's in us unless it's triggered by something out there typically. Unless you're very observant about yourself and very conscious, which again, at the beginning of awakening and ascension, you're not really that conscious. So that's why the outside world is key. The outside world shows us every single thing that's hidden in us. That's exactly what this is. We are a virtual reality simulation. We're not a physical blob. We are in a video game, your own video game. And all you do is look out there and see what happens, see your experience, what's triggering you, to know what's coming up in you. So again, we are being triggered so much right now because the light is returning so much within us. It's pushing all this darkness and shadow up to the surface. And if you haven't already watched my other video called Dark Side of Spiritual Awakening, if you're someone who has only awakened in the past year or so, please watch that video. It will talk about a lot more stuff, and so you'll have a lot more of an idea about why awakening is so hard and why all you seem to be is depressed and angry and going off the deep end, going crazy. So watch that video as well. Okay, now let's get to the most important part, which is how do we heal our shadow to get back these gifts, these abilities, these strengths? Because your biggest weakness is your biggest strength. And when we get these back, we're able to then live our soul mission, our life purpose. We have all of these talents that we've friggin' earned for so many different lifetimes that you deserve to be able to live that part of self, to live that dream instead of playing small. So we heal our shadow. We remove, again, the battle going on where you get nowhere. It's called duality. Your entire body is fighting itself, battling it out, causing illness, causing stress. And so we're not able to live and to be our true authentic self. So we need to heal these parts of self. So imagine our consciousness is a waterfall. And you put your hand in that waterfall, now there's a gap where no water is flowing. Now, this gap, so again, this is the trauma, but the gap below is a hole in our energy field, a hole in our aura, where outside debris, other people's emotions, thoughts, things can get stuck in there. This is why we think we're being attacked psychically, and we are sensitive to other people's energy. We feel like we're being attacked, like we're picking up other people's stuff. It's because we have so many holes in our energy field. But the real problem is the blockage, the trauma. The hole that it creates is just all the density that we collect as we go around in the world. But we need to heal the trauma. It's our trauma. It's always ours. Okay, and again, I'll talk about more of this in my video called Psychic Attack. Now, there's 3 different modalities of healing that I recommend to get to the root of the trauma. Again, you can go to many different healers, and you can go and go and go, and just like a chiropractor, for example, you can go every single week and you might not get to the root of the issue. So this is why I recommend 3 different types of healing modalities to get to the root. So one will be, it's called quantum hypnosis. And if you've heard of Dolores Cannon, she's passed away now, but she spent about 50 years doing quantum hypnosis on people to get to the root of things. And she would take them through past lives, through even into the spirit realm to find out why their symptoms are happening. to get to the root of something. So again, you can watch some of her YouTube channels or some of her YouTube videos as well to get some more information. So that I recommend, quantum hypnosis. And another modality I recommend is body talk. So again, you can Google and you can look up different practitioners in your area. Body talk will talk to different aspects of your body, different areas of your energy body, and unwind these traumas to allow flow through your system to finally heal the root. And the third healing modality that I recommend is shamanism. So going to a shaman. And again, you don't have to go to Peru and things like that. There's many different people who do shamanism to, again, do soul retrieval to get to the root of these traumas. Okay, and again, we don't have to be going to other outside people and spending money and going to people ongoing. Oh, and again, those 3 different modalities should heal you in about 1 or 2 sessions. So it's not something you need to be going to ongoing. Now, more importantly, I want to tell you about how to heal yourself, because a problem with our awakening and spiritual journey is a lot of people have all these issues come up and they're always running to the next practitioner to heal them. It's a victim-perpetrator program that we need to clear. So again, when you're going through something heavy, if you can't seem to heal it yourself, then I definitely recommend going to an energy healer. One of those three I mentioned. But if you're always running to the next healer, begging for help, that's a victim mentality that we don't want to have. And again, it happens to everyone. We get freaked out, we get scared, we feel like we're dying, and you just want someone to just save you. But again, it can become a habit. So we want to heal ourselves instead. Heal yourself within. Now, I recommend when you are triggered, like I was talking about before, go through your life. When you are triggered, that's the time when something is activated in you. That's the time to, instead of projecting it and continuing the karmic loop, that's the time to go within, ask yourself, what is that? What is that? And what does it need? Remember, this is a conscious part of you. It might be a little child from a trauma that happened when you were 5. So it's a little 5-year-old. You need to love these parts of yourself. So when something is triggered, that's the time to heal it. Go within, breathe it out. Again, deep breathing to breathe out the emotion. Let the emotion come out. Let yourself cry. Let that rage come out, whatever it is. But then go within. Ask that part of yourself, what do you need? What do you want to tell me? Do you need love? Again, definitely give it love. If you're always reacting and getting pissed off with all these parts of yourself, that will separate it even more. That will create that monster even more. But when you love a part of yourself, when you realize every single part of yourself that is a wounded child aspect, a wounded aspect just wants to be loved and brought back to the whole. So ask it what it needs. Maybe it wants to play. Maybe it's a part of yourself that was never allowed to play. And it wants you to play. We need to be our inner child again. So love this part of yourself. Ask it. Talk to it. Have a conversation. If you can picture it, this part of yourself, you can figure out what it looks like. You can imagine it. So when we imagine something, that's our ability to have our psychic gifts, our clairvoyance. It begins with just feeling like you're imagining something, and eventually it becomes a reality. We're able to, again, get visions, get conversations going with these parts of yourself. We're able to know what this part of yourself needs to finally heal. Because when we love it, you can picture yourself holding it like a baby, giving it love until the emotion is neutralized, and now this part of yourself is fully back healed. Again, things can happen in spirals. We're not going to heal something necessarily the first time. Healing happens in spirals. So if this part of yourself comes back again, love it again. Don't be angry. Know that you're getting to a deeper level of healing. And we can also do this through meditation, through visualizations, through going within, deep breathing, seeing what comes up. There's many ways to talk to the shadow. When we're finally able to heal, to love, neutralize this part of yourself, the battle inside you is unified. And this part of you that was acting against the whole, trying to prevent you from having your greatest life, trying to prevent you from living big, trying to prevent you from finding your soul mission, is now there, along with all the different aspects of self that you also are aligned with. Now it's unified. It works with you. It helps you on your journey instead of creating obstacles and blockages to prevent you from moving forward. This is why we need to heal everything. So many people that do spiritual work, they activate higher aspects of self, but they never integrate them. So these parts of self are activated, but they're not brought back into the whole because they're too scared to look at the darkness. They're too scared to feel the emotion. So what happens? They run from it. And when you run from something, this is where it comes at you. So we can't run from our darkness. We can't run from our shadow. It's just like your shadow. When you run from it, it follows you. And it becomes even more powerful. So we heal these parts of yourself, and they now are unified with the whole self in order to now find your soul mission, your life purpose, and live with all of your gifts, abilities, and talents, your biggest life. If you like the video, please like it, share it with as many people as you can, comment, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell. We'll see you soon on Earth 1111. I'm Roxanne. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.